don't panic. Just don't panic. Everything's going to be fine. Hi, everyone. I would have liked to have spent more time creating a way better edited video about the things I wanted to tell you about, given the current crazy crisis with fuel, gas, petrol, all kinds of gas, energy, the energy crisis that the world is currently in. And I would like to believe that somehow things will resolve, but not just my gut feeling and my intuition, and I do question that, like, fight or flight tendencies tend to make you very hypervigilant to any perceived danger, and I know that that's a part of something that I deal with, but I also really know a lot about history and politics, and I've studied those things at university, and I've gone on to continue keeping up to date with all the aspects of any situation that's happening that might affect me personally. And I just really want to share that with you guys without, I don't want you to freak out. I'm not freaked out, but I am anxious because I have a very realistic look. I'm an optimist. You guys know I'm an optimist. I'm always hoping for the best of every bad situation, and everything happens for a reason, and being philosophical and stoic, it's my way. But I'm also a realist, and the reality is we're in a really huge crisis that I foresee is only going to get a heck of a lot worse. So what I have been, the mindset I've had, because I have been in a situation where I had everything. I had houses, I had new cars, I've had a great job, I've had all those things. A couple of times in my life that I've had occasion to just unforeseen circumstances have made me just lose everything, and that experience taught me to live life in a different way. And the life I'm living now has been all about resilience and resourcefulness and adaptation and minimalism to an extent of what my needs are. What I need to make me happy is not brand new shiny things or bigger things or better things or more impressive things. It's about survival. I've been in survival mode now for so long that survival is where I live and where my mindset is, and with that appreciation of nature and earth and the goodness of humanity and the things that bring me joy and peace and contentedness are very important to me as well. But I told you in my last video, we talked a lot about the fact that I had been planning another really big segment of a road trip, that it's something I really wanted to do, and Pixie got really sick, and the timing of that with the fact that there was a fuel crisis and prices going crazy at the same time made me really rethink that seriously and decide that I was better off staying put for a while. Update on Pixie. We had another vet appointment yesterday, follow up to see how she was doing. She's been on her medication, she's finished her antibiotics, but the vet told me that her heart, because I was concerned it was her heart is of normal size. There's no audible murmur or anything like that. There's no signs of what it was looking like it could be early signs of like a heart failure. There's no sign of that on their diagnostic criteria. Having said that, she has had a couple of those coughing fits since, even while being on the medication. And I can't take her for the long walks that we used to do, because each time she had that coughing fit again, it was, and we just gentle walk, and it's not a huge walk, it's maybe 1 or 2 kilometers, but she ends up coughing that night. And a couple of things I've done, I've bought a little humidifier, cute, of course it's pink, and I put that next to her bed when she's sleeping, and I think that might help a little bit, because when she was really bad, it was really dry and the humidity was really low. But anyway, that's just for those of you that want an update on Pixie. She's still battling. We don't know what it is. the vet just said keep her on the medication apart from the antibiotics for a while longer. So I will keep you updated with that. But most of the time she's her happy perky self, just intermittently has these strange coughing fits. But anyway, that's one thing. You know, she has encouraged me. Just wanting to care for her was a big part of me staying off the road, and obviously the ongoing expense with that as well. So thanks to those of you that generously donated to help with that. That is super, super helpful, and I really appreciate it. So I have gotten my living situation to a point where my goal was to be able to survive off-grid. So no electricity, no toileting facilities, no running water, no nothing. To be in the middle of nowhere and to be able to survive. That's the way I set my caravan up. So I do have my big power pack right here, which you would have seen if you'd seen in previous videos, but it's big lithium potassium battery. What does it say? 2048 watt hours, which is 200 amp hours, I think. I'm not really sure. I've never understood anyway, that runs my whole caravan. So I can plug that into the main switch and it operates my lights, all my 2 power points. I only have 2 power points in here, but I do have a power board running off one of them down the other end, so I can charge my phone and stuff like that if I need to. I can also charge phones on this. So this has got a 12 volt inlet. It's got 4 240 volt inlets, a 12 volt inlet, so I could run my 12 volt fridge in that. And it's also got a couple of like 4 USB, USB inlets as well. So it does everything, and it's brilliant. And attached to that, it has a DC charger, which when I'm driving will charge it while I'm driving, and then when I stop I have 350 watt foldable solar panels that go out and that charges it. And I don't cook with gas, I only have electric, so that's cooking with electric, using my little mini air fryer, using my little hot plate, running my fridge and my 12 volt fridge, which I'm currently using as a freezer. I can survive without electricity. Some of the things I have to survive, I have this shower setup that is like a pump that you put in the bucket of water and you can run your own shower. And I can heat up water either on my little solo stove, which runs on fire, or the jug if I need to. I don't have running hot water. I'm really simple in here. There's no running hot water. There's no running water, full stop. I have a water tank under the caravan that has, I don't know how many liters, but I know that it lasts me exactly a week, and I have to pump the handle to get the water out of the tap, and it comes out whatever temperature it is outside. So if I need hot water, I have to heat that. So there's limitations to it, but I've adapted and it's fine. If I'm at a paid campsite and there's a bathroom with toilets and showers, then quite clearly I use them. This is just for when I'm out in the wilderness by myself, which I'm not at the moment. I'm at a paid campsite at the moment because, yeah, I don't know what's happening. I just didn't want to be too remote when dealing with this situation. As far as petrol goes, I always have I've got 2 tanks on the truck, and I always have a full tank of petrol at all times, so that if I need to take off anywhere, I can go. A full tank load gets me about 250 kilometers. So if I needed to get with both tanks full, I can get to about 500 kilometers. One tank is full, that's it. The only driving I'm doing with that is basically like around the block every couple of weeks at the moment, just to sort of just keep it running, really. And the other thing I have, as well as that power pack for electricity, is I have a smaller one, this little one. I don't know what it's called. These are all superseded now. Bluetti updates their equipment all the time, and I'm not sponsored by Bluetti, but gosh, I wish I was. I know I said that I wouldn't accept sponsorships, but if Bluetti sponsored me, I'd accept that, because I really love their products and they're lifesavers for me. This one's called the AC2A. It's a 300 watt, 204.8 watt hours. So that I use mainly for my busking equipment. If my busking equipment runs out, because I've got a rechargeable speaker and my all my little equipment, like my little page chaining pedal, my tablet that I have my music on, and the phone that I'm streaming the backing tracks with. Obviously that's all, you know, it needs to be charged. So this comes with me everywhere where I go, and it's I usually keep that in the car, because that's how I charge up my devices if I've forgotten. Normally I'll try to charge them up before I go out, and it usually lasts me for a couple of times of busking. But sometimes if I don't, and I go, oh crap, I forgot to charge up that, then this is back up all the time. I've also got, and this is something I would recommend to you, you don't have to be living in a van to have these things. Like, I would recommend get a big ass Blue Eddy like that, get a little one like this, because even though we think of this crisis at the moment in terms of petrol, and that petrol's really expensive, you'd be surprised at what petrol affects in other areas as well. And my concern is that if it gets really bad, the energy is required to run power plants as well. You know, they have to run on something, and there's a mixture. Some can run on natural gas, some can run on coal. Obviously some can in the world run on nuclear. I don't know if any of ours do. I don't think they do. Anyway, I'm not sure what Australia's power plants are running on, but I think it's a combination of coal and gas. And I know we have lots of those things here, but whether or not we have the ability to process them and refine them is another thing. So even though we have a lot of resources in this country, we don't have a lot of processing ability. We usually send our stuff elsewhere and get it processed and bring it back. So it's easy to think that this isn't going to affect us, but economically it will affect the whole world, and the trickle-on effect of everybody. It's going to be a global situation. And if you thought that, you know, the pandemic was bad, pandemic is nothing on what this is. This is huge, okay? And I want you guys to be realistic as well, and hopefully prepared. I feel as prepared as I possibly can be given my limited resources, because I have been preparing for years and years and years, and just because of volatility in the world. And you know, I just wanted to, it just helps me feel less anxious if I know that I've got things in place to survive. So that's me for power. Think about power. Think about what might happen if they impose blackouts for certain periods of time to save energy of whatever type might be challenged at this time and in the future. Even if it's just a storm, like even if you get wiped out in a storm. I mean, that happened to me when I was living in Oregon. We had a freak snowstorm. We were snowed in for like a week, and we had no power for, I think it was 4 or 5 days, no power at all in the middle of winter. And yeah, I actually quite survived and quite enjoyed it, because I'd actually been on a big, huge cooking spree the day before. Nobody knew this storm was coming. They called it Snowmageddon. But just, you know, this little intuitive thing I have inside me sometimes, and for some reason I decided to cook up a storm the day before. Hilarious term, cook up a storm, because it was. I'd cooked up a big thing of pumpkin soup, and I'd cooked up a whole bunch of meals that were pre-prepared, and I'd baked cookies, and I'd made some fudge, so I was fine, and I kind of enjoyed it. We had no internet, no TV, no nothing. Like, it was just silence and peace, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, it did get colder and colder and colder. I kept the house closed up, and I was in a house then, so it wasn't so bad. I kept it all closed up to keep the warmth in as much as possible, except to let Pixie out to go, you know, for a wee and stuff. And it was so funny seeing her in this deep snow, like she would just sink. It was hilarious. I'll see if I can find some video of that, because it was kind of cute. There's a bit more snow, hey Pixie? Pixie's having trouble with snow. Holy crap, it just keeps on coming. Look how high it is on my chairs now. Yeah, it just keeps on snowing. Pixie was looking, because there's some deer over there, aren't there, Pixie? See the deer over in the snow there? Isn't that pretty? Just looking at the deer. Pixie, no. Pixie, no, you're not jumping over the fence. No, Pixie, no. No. But we survived, and I just put more and more layers on as it got colder and colder, and then finally the power came back on. So everybody should be prepared. You know, I've told my friends, I've told my family, like, have a backup plan for electricity crisis as well, even if none of this affects it at some stage. Have it for any time it might happen in the future, because you know, you just don't know what's going to happen. Be prepared. The other thing that can be affected obviously is water supply, because everything that creates something being brought from somewhere else to you involves energy of some type to make that happen. If you're relying on the water that comes on the tap when you turn it on, have a backup option for that as well. For me, mainly because I've been camping in some pretty remote places and some of the water sources were just gross, I have done a few things to counteract that. Emergency situation, I have my Grayl Water Filter, and I have done a review on this, which I will link down below. It was years and years ago. I've had these things. I've gotten quite a few new filters, and I have another new filter in there. That's the filter part. That's the top part. When the lids, you fill it up to water, any water up to the line, and you can even do this from a muddy puddle in India, and it'll be safe to drink. And then, like a coffee press, you just push it down like that, and it's forcing the water through the filter into the top part, and that part becomes drinkable. I don't use that a lot now, except if I'm like hiking in the bush or something like that. It's a good thing to take with you just in case you need to drink out of a creek or a puddle or a lake or somewhere and you're remote. It's just a good thing to have as a backup. But my water filtration that I use coming out of the tap anyway is just a cheap inline water filter. Oh, it's got a bit of water in it. This one's a companion one. And as you can see, hose attachment, and I think it was like $30 from Mitre 10 or Bunnings or somewhere like that. I don't like chlorine and fluoride and all those yucky things in my water anyway. I've never fully trusted commercial like water sources. Water is life, you know, and I just like my water pure. When I find water that's pure, as you would have seen, if I find a spring that's got real water, it's like heaven for me. I get so excited swimming in a fresh creek or a lake, and just love it. Living water is the bomb. But what I've done is I've just cut a shorter length of hose. So one end clicks in there, that end clicks to my actual hose, and this goes into, I've got a few different water containers. I've got a 15-litre water container, and I've got a 10-litre water container, and then I have various smaller 2.5-litre bottles and water bags and things like that I can stock up on water. But I don't generally do that. I would do that if I knew there was going to be a water crisis, but for the moment all I do is I use this. I fill up my 10-litre water bottle, then I bring it inside. So this is like a charcoal filter, so it'll take out, you know, some parts of the funkiness, most of it. And then the other thing I have, I don't know if you can see that here, I'll try and turn this down a bit for you, next to my soda stream. This thing, Vitel water. This system cost about $150. I've had this for years. In fact, I broke the original lid, so I'm just using another ceramic lid. I like the fact that it's ceramic. I don't like storing my water in plastic. It's not very nice when you have your water in plastic, so I prefer to keep it in a ceramic. When I'm on the road and traveling, then yes, I will use the plastic container, because it screws on the lid and the water stays in there, whereas this thing would just go flying and smash into a million pieces. So this gets tucked underneath the couch that I'm sitting on, and when I'm stopped, then I put the water into that. And inside there's two little gauze bags with these like magnesium beads, and the guy that runs this, he's done a whole bunch of scientific studies on it and exactly what it does, but it actually oxygenates and purifies the water, and he says it will take out all the impurities from the water. Now, it sounds dubious and a lot of people have been skeptical about it, but it has amazing reviews and people rave about it, and so I was like, I'll give it a go. And I've been using that for years and years and years, and once you've bought it, it lasts forever. So that's my water system. I do like my little soda stream as well, because my special treat, like I don't drink alcohol, but when I want a special treat, I do love a soda water. So I actually got a soda stream so that I can have soda water whenever I want. So that's a little luxury for me. That's the height of luxury for me, is my soda stream. So that's the water situation. Oh, the other thing with power backup too is I also have, and I've got a few of them scattered around the place and in my handbag, in the car, little mini power pack things that you can get like this are great to have. My daughter actually got me this for Christmas last year. Thanks, Brie. And it's just, if your phone runs out when you're out on the go, you can just, you know, as long as it's charged up. So you've got to bring it in and actually charge it up on a power source as well. But little mini power packs are really good to have too. That's kind of really important. So that's the power, the water. Let's talk about prep and supplies. I have an actual proper survival knife that has a like a fire starter stick attached to it, and a very, 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 very sharp knife. And that was mainly, I got that mainly because I love going fishing, and so I was like, I need a sharp knife to cut fish up, and just as a sort of a, I don't know, safety thing as well. Like, you know, if somebody breaks in here, I'm probably gonna, I don't know if I'd have the guts to actually stab someone. Speaking of safety things, my best safety tip that a guy in a truckie in America told me this when I was traveling around doing Route 66, and he said to me, he couldn't, you know, are you doing this on your own? And I was like, yes. And he's like, oh, are you packing, little lady? Like, it's so funny. I don't like guns and I don't want to have to use one. And he said to me, I will give you a tip which will be the best security tip you'll ever hear. And he told me to get a can of wasp spray. Wasp spray. Wasp spray. It's hard to say that quickly, wasp spray. Because in his words, it'll down a man from 30 feet and nothing but an ambulance will get him up. He said, keep a can of wasp spray in your cup holder inside your truck. So that's what I do. I have a can of wasp spray in here and in the truck, and thankfully I've never had to use them. But if I was in a, you know, someone climbing through the window type of situation, in a really, I feel, endangered situation, then I would use that wasp spray in a heartbeat. Speaking of which, I did have a strange situation happen the other day. It was about 1:50 a.m. and I suddenly was woken up by bright headlights shining in my back window. And I went out there and there's a guy in a car, like this isn't a road behind me. Like, this is just grass, a big grassy patch and trees. There's no road. Like, he would have had to deliberately drive down beside, past my truck, past my Caravan, and come around there to be at my back window. There's no reason anybody would need to do that. And it really pissed me off. And so I went outside and I says, "Oi, mate, what are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, sorry, I'm just looking for a mate of mine." I'm like, "Yeah, nah, you're not." And I said, "Well, you're in my campsite. Like, what are you doing here?" "Oh, I'm just trying to make a U-turn." Well, there's roads over there. There's roads, like, there's plenty of places anywhere else he could have made a U-turn, but the fact that he did it right there, I suspect that he was, like, he seemed dodgy. And he took off as soon as I went to get my camera to take footage of it. He took off in a hurry out to the main road. So I think he was scoping for things to steal. And I did ask around if anybody, you know, other campers had anything missing. Because a lot of people, they leave their barbecues, their gas bottles, their jerry cans, like all sorts of things just sitting out the back of their camp. So just be warned, like I think we're going to see a lot more of that. I think there's going to be some people that are going to start getting really desperate and keep everything locked up. Anyway, it made me really a little bit more paranoid than I normally would be, probably. It was a bit unsettling. So what are we going to do about, you know, Australia, we have a saying, without trucks, Australia stops. That's the one. Now, I've noticed, I've been out busking, I try to get out at least 2 times a week at the moment, and I have definitely noticed less and less people, wanting to give you donations, and also less cars at the shops. Like there's a lot less, like the car parks will be half empty. And I was surprised by that. And somebody said, you know, stop to chat to me. I get people stopping and chatting all the time when I was busking. And this was like a week or so ago. And they said, oh, how are you doing? And I said, oh, it's a bit quiet, you know. And they said, oh, what do you mean? And I was like, well, look at the car park. There's like nobody, like usually this car park is full and it's like half empty. And he said, well, that's because people aren't driving as much. You know, people aren't as likely to just nip down the shops because, oh shit, we've run out of milk, let's go. You know, they're saving their trips up. And I know that's what I've been doing. Like I don't just go out because I need one thing. I wait until I need everything and can go busking at the same time. Like I'm coordinating that in the same trip. I'm going to do my groceries, I'm going to go busking, and then I'm going to buy groceries, which, you know, works quite well. I thought that the shops would be busier because more people would be stocking up on stuff. When I say don't panic, like please panic now. Like I'm not going to, it really annoys me the way the politicians have been standing up saying that the reason why we're running out of fuel is because Australians are panic buying and basically trying to discourage people from panic buying. I'm sorry, but I personally panic buy, if that's what you want to call it, because when I filled up my car, it was $1.98 per litre, hallelujah, and I don't have to drive very far, like 3 or 4 kilometres is the most I have to drive these days, so that tank will last me forever. But I'm glad that I did that then, because now it's like $2.50, $3 a litre, you know, so panic buy, fill your petrol tank up, don't listen to them, they've been telling us we've got a month's supply for the last 4 weeks. And, you know, keeping on reassuring you, I'm sorry, but I have a very, very healthy skepticism of what the government tells me. I do. I'm not paranoid, I'm just realistic. And this situation that's happening now in the Middle East, without politics completely aside, I'm like, I'm not going to get involved in that side of things because that is out of my control. What is within my control is how I adapt to a sort of a tumultuous crisis situation. And if life has taught me anything, I'm really good at that. I'm really good at that. So what I started doing was every time I was out busking, I would buy something more than I normally would with my groceries, say, for example, you know. And I eat really simply because I'm pretty much a carnivore. So it's been a cheap carnivore lately. I've been eating mince, which in the US is ground beef. If you're from the US and you don't know what mince is, it's ground beef. It's cheap. It's the cheapest form of meat you can buy. And I just buy big lots of that and stock up on that. So my freezer at the moment is full. I buy like 1 kilo, I bag it up into freezer bags of 1 kilo lots, which I squash nice and flat into slabs so they take up less space in my freezer. And basically I would recommend that you have 2 months worth of food in your pantry and your fridge and your freezer. If you've got a big freezer and a bigger fridge than I have, I've got a mini bar fridge and a 20-litre freezer. So I can only stock up so much of that stuff. So let's talk about food and what I would recommend or what I have done personally. Your choices might be differently as far as food goes, but one thing I've learned because of the way I eat, because of my autoimmune condition, it helps me to pretty much stick to a carb-free diet as much as possible. I meat is my main source, and I'm not too worried about the access to meat and eggs. But I'm thinking about, okay, the trucks that bring things from a long way away to where I am, what sort of things would they be, and that they might be hard to get. So I have stocked up on things like laundry detergent, dishwashing detergent, shampoo and conditioner, soap, any toilet paper, household type things like that. I have enough to last me several months. Now, I always do that because I don't like shopping, and when I'm on the road I always have large amounts of those things to last me for months at a time. I have the space in here, believe it or not, and in the truck to store that sort of thing. But food wise, I pretty much eat mince and eggs. The other thing I eat quite regularly, at least a couple of times a week, is tinned sardines, and on occasion tinned oysters in spring water. The sardines and oysters in spring water, because I look at food not like, I know when I was in hospital and I overheard the nurses talking, and one of them said, oh my God, she's on that carnivore diet. I would get so bored eating that, just meat. And I laughed to myself because I thought, therein lies the difference between a carnivore and everyone else, is that for me, food is not entertainment. It's nutrition, and what I'm eating is the most nutrient dense items on the planet that satisfy my body's need for nutrition without all the fillery crap that we tend to fill it with, because it makes it more interesting, a lot of which is no good for you. So when I was at the supermarket starting to stock up on a few extras, I noticed that what people in front of me were buying, and there was one woman there, she's like 20 bags of flour and a whole bunch of sugar and stuff, and I'm thinking, oh, you're going to bake cakes, are you, during this crisis? Let them eat cake, like Marie Antoinette was purported to say, which apparently she didn't, but she's somehow been credited with that, let them eat cake. The people are poor, they have no food to eat, let them eat cake. If you want to stock up on flour and sugar and baking goods and eat cake during a food crisis, which is a very, very real possibility, good luck to you. See how long your physiology can be sustained on flour and sugar. It's not going to happen. Me personally, there are three main things, well, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 main things that I have stocked up on in food, and I mean stocked up on in that are super cheap, well, except for one of them is a bit more expensive than others, but relatively cheap, do not require refrigeration, can just sit in a box in the back of your car or any cupboard. If you're in a house, obviously you've got more options to store things, and I'd be stocking up more if you can, because while they're still available, and I mean, I haven't been out now for a few days, but things were starting to look like they could be dwindling at this point already. So I was really glad that I started doing this ages ago. Things that are shelf stable, have a long-term life stable, are really good to keep in your pantry. And these items alone, in a worst case scenario, you've got no access to any other sources of food whatsoever, your body will survive and thrive. And I don't want to hear the argument about we need carbs. Quite clearly we don't need carbs, or else I'd be dead by now, right? Because it's been years for me. Number 1, I've been pretty much eating meat, eggs and butter most of the time for the last 3 years now. I think 3, 4, what's March? I think it's 3 years now. March the 10th it was. I think it was 3 years ago. Meat, eggs and butter. That's been my staple. I have added other things into that, the occasional vegetable, the occasional just normal meal, the occasional piece of fruit because it's hanging off a tree and I go, yum, yum, I'll have that. And occasionally fermented vegetables, the kind that you get in the fridge that are organic, like sauerkraut or kimchi or something like that. Occasionally. I've experimented with a few things like that. Doesn't seem to hurt on occasion. But I was doing a lot of butter. And butter got really expensive ages ago. Like, I mean, for good quality butter where the only 2 ingredients are cream and salt, also needs refrigeration. So not really a good thing to stock up on in your prepper supply pantry. I started looking into that a while ago. I think it was one time where the butter that I usually get, they didn't have, which is the mainland organic, and I was like, oh dang, you know, and I don't really like other butters, and it was expensive. And then I discovered Nature's Gold ghee. This stuff is the bomb, and it's shelf stable. You don't need to refrigerate it. Nutritional value of butter plus because the milk proteins and all that sort of stuff is taken out, so it's actually a lot better for people who are dairy intolerant. It has a high smoke point burning thing, so for cooking your eggs in it, and I have been making an amazing breakfast pancake, which I will make a video about and show you, totally gluten-free, grain-free, dairy-free, so delicious. A piece of magic that I discovered, it was a fluke. It was literally a fluke. But this stuff, grass-fed, 100%, it's from India. And the shelf-stable life, well, it says best before 27th of October 2027. That one was from Aldi. They also have it at Woolies and IGA, and I have a whole carton of that stuff. 500 grams, I think it is, in each one. 500 mils, 500 grams, whatever. If you put it in the fridge, it goes solid. If it's cold, it goes solid. If it's warm, it just melts. So if I need it melted, I just put some in the pan and melt it. But I tell you what, you'd think just eating mince by itself would be really boring with just salt in it. It kind of is, let's be honest. But put in a tablespoon of this and melt that all through it, and it becomes just so delicious. So I have a lot of that stuff, and I pretty much have been going through one of those a week. So I have always 2 inside the caravan, and I have my emergency carton of it as well. The other thing I stocked up big time, sardines. Now I know a lot of people go yuck. I personally used to go yuck as well. I thought they were the most disgusting things on the planet until I got rid of my sugar carb craving taste buds. Like, it just changes when your body adapts to a fat-based, protein-based diet. Your taste and cravings, well, you don't even get cravings, but your desires, your penchant for certain foods just completely changed. I was a vegetarian. I hated meat. I hated the smell of it. I hated everything. Now I just get so excited about it. I eat the same thing all the time, and I'm just as excited about it because my body goes, nutrition, need all those vitamins and minerals and all the good things you get. Sardines are just the bomb. I literally just eat them straight out of the can, just like that. Carry them in my handbag if I get the munchies at any stage and I'm away from the kitchen and I need food, quick snack. Sprinkle of salt on them in the fridge. They're really, really yummy. Again, will last forever. Well, not forever, but probably forever. This one says used by October 2028. So at least a couple of years you're going to get out of these things, you know, so that's a good thing. The other thing I did stock up on is beans in a can. Again, not a carnivore option as such, but a protein source if you can't get a meat-based protein source. Highly recommend it. I've actually been adding about a half a can of beans into my mince lately just to make it last longer, and it hasn't had any adverse effects on me whatsoever, so I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And again, I have 2 cartons of those so in my emergency supply. So those basically. Oh, and the oysters, which I haven't got any in my fridge at the moment, so I'm gonna have to get some out of the car. The little oysters are really good because they're really high in zinc, and it's all about the minerals. The sardines have got calcium in them. They've got all sorts of the reason why sardines are better than other types of fish, than say tuna or thing, is because they're little. They don't absorb as much mercury and toxic things from the ocean as a bigger fish would. Like the big fish eat these little fish, and then obviously the more time they have to grow, the more they're going to absorb toxins. So bristling sardines in particular, they're the baby ones. People go, oh, high in mercury. Negligible. Not really. They're pretty good. But if honestly, if you had nothing else in the world but these 2 items, high energy source, fat. This is good, healthy, saturated fat. Ayurvedic medicine thinks it's some kind of healing magic. I've got to tell you, since I switched to this, I don't know how long it's been now, a couple months, few months, I don't know, I lose track of time. But I have noticed my skin, like it just has a kind of a glow to it, like it's sort of pinky glowing, which I hadn't, and I'm not wearing any makeup at the moment, this is just my skin. It just has this kind of radiance to it that it didn't have. My hair is definitely looking, I mean, I was getting to the point where my hair was just a dry ball of frizz, and I was like, what is going on? And like, I don't know, it just feels like it's coming back to life a little bit. My mood has been heaps better. It's a really good source of energy, and honestly, you could live on that. Like, I just sometimes I keep one in the fridge, because when I have just a spoonful of it, it tastes to me like you know how caramel is basically just cream and sugar. Like, that's the taste of caramel. Well, this is the cream without the sugar, and if you put it in the fridge and make it go hard and have a spoonful of it, and you have no sugar receptor tendencies in your mouth, that it tastes like caramel. So I do that sometimes, like as a dessert. Like, I'm going through heaps of that. I probably have about at least 3 tablespoons a day I'm having of ghee. And yeah, so the fat and energy source, protein and nutrients and minerals, pretty much sorted with those 2 items. And I almost didn't want to tell everyone that, because I'm like, everyone's going to go out and buy like ghee and sardines, and then I won't be able to get any. So I'm telling you now, because I now have plenty. So go for it. Get some ghee. It's so yummy in your eggs. Like, it's just, yeah, instead of anywhere you'd use butter, use the ghee, and you will really, I mean, I love the flavor of it. I just love everything about it for cooking. It's just a piece of magic. So that's my survival tips as far as food. And do stock up. You know, people go, oh, it's not fair if you go stock up and then you strip the shelves, because then nobody else gets a chance. We've had warning of this for long enough, and if you have had your head in the sand and you think everything's going to be fine and there's no need to panic, then just, I'm telling you, be prepared. Be prepared, like the Girl Scouts, you know. I actually wasn't a Girl Scout. I was a brownie, though. They don't even have brownies anymore, apparently. I looked it up. Brownies. And brownies' motto was always lend a hand. So I'm going to lend you a hand and just tell you, because you guys have lent me lots of times and been helpful for me. My helpful tip for you is, if you're still going off and doing your normal grocery shopping like normal people, just go out there now, today, tomorrow. Get at least these items that will keep you alive for at least a couple of months. Like, that would be my recommendation. Find out what's going on from both sides. Like, I don't just get my information from one side of the situation. You know what I mean? And there's always 2 sides to every story. Listen to both sides. Listen to both sides and make your own mind up about what's going on here. And there's a lot more going on than I think most people are aware of, and there may well be emergency supplies coming from somewhere else as far as the fuel goes. It seems to me everyone's just worried about their cars at the moment. My concern is beyond the cars, and beyond that, the trucks, and also beyond that, the rest of the global economy, where a lot of our stuff is imported from other places. Like, don't order anything online if you can help it, because I think we should really limit how much stuff we're bringing from anywhere to anywhere. If you can do your bit to contribute to reducing the amount of logistics required in the world at the moment, I think that's a really good idea, because there are other countries a lot worse off than us who don't have the resources that we do. We are actually in a really good position here, as far as we've got land that we can grow our own food on, we've got water sources, we've got resources as far as, you know, energy, and even coal and gas and oil and all those things are here in this country. And if worse comes to worse and they end up lobbing nukes at each other, apparently Australia, they did a study back in like 2020 or something, like what would happen in the worst case scenario of a nuclear war and the ensuing nuclear winter, which is when the cloud covers, you know, half of the world and causes the sun's rays to not be able to infiltrate properly. Apparently the best country in the world to survive a nuclear winter is Australia. So we can be thankful at least that we live here and that our possibilities for survival, and Australians are probably the most resilient at living in adverse situations. It's part of our heritage, you know. We were kind of living on a land that isn't exactly hospitable and we learnt to adapt to that. So I think it's in our spirit and in our nature to be resilient and resourceful, and hopefully not out to take from each other, which I know can happen in a real crisis situation. So the number one rule of being a prepper is don't tell anyone about your preps, because the theory is that, you know, in a zombie apocalypse, if people know that you have stashes and supplies, then they will raid it. I do have, I will admit this because I don't think my stashes and supplies are enough to sustain anyone but myself, and I've only got myself to worry about, thankfully. But I do have in my storage unit disaster supplies, which are 5 kilo bags of rice, beans, lentils, chickpeas, oats, that kind of stuff, things that last a long time. And look, as you know, I'm not a carb eater myself, but I do believe that carbs and staples and things like beans do have their place. Legumes have their place in they are famine food. They are famine food. If you cannot get a source of protein and you need to eat, then I would eat those things. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to die. The other thing I did is I also have bought, and I have them here with me, I won't show you them, but they are in a cool, dark, dry place. I went online quite a few years ago and I stocked up on every single seed. There's a few places online that sell heritage seeds, and I have the seeds to pretty much every fruit and vegetable and herb that I could think of that I would ever want, need, or desire. And I've stashed those seeds away. Obviously they come in little foil containers, and yes, they will last for pretty much forever as long as they're unopened, which they are. And that is in case I need to grow something. If you have a garden now, I would highly recommend that you start growing vegetables right now. Like potatoes and sweet potatoes are so easy to grow. You just basically chop off a piece of the potato and put it in the ground. I've done that before and had an abundant supply. I used to just grow them out of styrofoam boxes that they deliver vegetables in, and I had a whole veggie garden in the back of my truck before I when I was vegan, and I had a worm farm and a compost farm, and I had it all going on. You know, the only reason I got rid of that garden was because when I traveled across the border into New South Wales, they had a restriction on fire ants, and they restricted all dirt and plant movement across state lines. So I gave my garden away, and I don't need to grow anything right now, but I have thought about it. I was like, I have that option. If it gets really dire, I would recommend starting a veggie garden, and also coordinating with your neighbors and close people to keep an eye on each other and make sure that you look after each other and bring, like, coordinate things. Like, if you know somebody next door to you is a little bit more reclusive or older or frail or has illnesses or whatever, and you're going to the supermarket to buy some stuff, like, just ask your neighbor, hey, I'm going down to the shops, would you like me to get something for you while I'm down there? Like, think of other people and try and be supportive of people who might be really scared when they might not be scared now, but I think people are going to get a lot more scared over the next few weeks, when I think the reality is that this situation, this war, this crisis, I mean, even if it stopped tomorrow, the ripple effects are going to be around for years, and it's not going to stop tomorrow, and it is going to get worse, and the ripple effects are going to be devastating in my personal opinion, and I think from an economic point of view. Anyway, I am just thankful. I'm thankful to live in a caravan right now. Like, there are many times when I've kind of thought over the years, like, oh, I wish I had a house, I wish I had a house. But then the more I started thinking about that and looking into what would be involved, I mean, apart from the cost, which I literally can't afford a house. I wouldn't be able to afford any kind of house or rental or anything. But, you know, even, I think one time, there was probably a couple of times where there were places where I could have possibly done it. But then I've gone, oh, hang on, okay, yeah, I could afford that rent. This was years ago, not now. But then I would have to go out and buy furniture and white goods and things to put in that house. And then I would have electricity bills on top of the price of the house. Now, I'm living relatively cheaply here. It's costing me $210 a week to live here at the moment, and I'm happy to pay that for the amenities and just the security of having other people around. Nice people, my neighbors. I've gotten to know my neighbors, and we chat, and you know, it's a good environment. I feel safe and happy here. Yeah, I really feel for people who, like, you know, all those brand new housing developments in the outer suburbs of big cities where houses are going for like over $1 million. Imagine being a young couple with kids with a $600,000 mortgage where you're both commuting an hour every day to get to your jobs to pay for it. How are they going to survive this? Terrifying. Terrifying. And everything's going to go up. It's not just petrol. Petrol's the first thing. It's the first, you know, it's the first domino to fall. And then it's from petrol, it's supplies, and then food, and then it affects the farmers and the production down the track. Like, it goes on and on and on. And things don't bode well, guys. And the only reason I'm smiling right now is because I just have faith in the goodness of humanity. I just have to. I have to believe that, I mean, I was very anxious for a while there because I wanted to make sure that I was as ready as I could be. I am now as ready as I can be. I recommend you be as ready as you can be. And then from then on, focus good stuff. You know, like when I'm out there playing some music and I have people coming up to me and they're like, oh, thank you for making the world a better place. And I play songs like What the World Needs Now is Love, Sweet Love, and Imagine, and, you know, like songs that I hope will kind of inspire people that in our essence as humans is to care for each other, is to love each other, is to look after each other, and to survive all kinds of horrors and atrocities. And our resilience is amazing, and I know that yeah, I'm just very thankful to be where I am, living how I am in this simple life where I can adapt to almost any kind of crisis, at least for the, you know, semi-short term. Look, if worse comes to worse and I have to go out there and kill a rabbit, I'll kill a rabbit. Like, I'm sorry, but we got to survive. We got to survive, you know. But yeah, I think eggs and meat around here. I see a lot of cows and there's a lot of farms, and I think I'm going to be okay as far as eggs and meat go, for the, you know, as far as distance of travel goes. So make sure you've stocked up on things that are important, that things are nutritious, that you've got power backup options, that you've got water filtration options, and then you can rest easy at night in a sense of achievement and a little bit pride in yourself for having preempted your own personal crisis. Don't try not to make this global crisis your own personal crisis. I personally have been spending a lot less time online because it does get to me. I very much do take on board the energy of people and situations around me, and I know a lot of you guys that relate to me because you feel that way too. So really be mindful not to absorb it all and take it all on board, because you personally can't change the decisions and choices that other people in control of this situation are making. But make your own personal choice, which is what I have done. Is my sphere of influence is this 15-foot little space. That's my sphere of influence. When I'm out busking, it's about the same size, to be honest with you. All I can influence is the energy and space that surrounds me, and if I can raise the vibration of that enough in a positive enough way to maybe impact the people that come into contact with that, then that's what I can do. That's what I can do to make the world a better place. And I hope that you guys are able to stay positive in amongst all this, and let me know how you're doing, and let me know how you're adapting, and don't talk about politics, because you know, I don't, that's just, anyway, we won't even go there, because there's plenty of, if you want to talk politics and stay on the political side of things, there's a lot of other channels, a lot at the moment, just talking about that kind of stuff, and you can get that information anywhere you need to be, and there'll be people telling you what you want to tell, whichever way you want to believe. So that's not what I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on you as individuals, me as an individual, and us together as a community, and how we can, because yeah, it doesn't matter how angry or upset you get, it's not actually going to change that situation. So we can change our situation. And I love you guys so much, and honestly, every single one of you, like especially those that you reach out, you're on my mind. I am thinking about you so much and wondering, like, oh, this is how I'm adapting. I wonder how you guys are adapting. I wonder how you're feeling. And you know, I am concerned. I'm concerned without letting fear become the overriding emotion in my life. I'm concerned for everybody's well-being, and for our planet, and for humanity, and just want our world to be a beautiful place, and for all of us to be happy, like praying for you all, and thank you for watching me, and I hope something I've said here triggers something in you and helps you in some way, shape or form. It's nothing fancy, but it's just a little update from me. So mwah! See you guys soon. I will check in and see how you're all feeling really soon. Bye.